Now, you probably know Jack Canfield as the co-creator and co-author of the New York Times #1 best-selling Chicken Soup for the Soul book series, which currently has 146 titles and over 100 million copies in print in 47 languages.
He's relaxed and he knows his material inside and out.
He's funny, very engaging, the time's flying by.
He has believability, and like I said, I'm kind of a skeptic at heart because you hear different things and you're inundated with so much information, but I think Jack Canfield, you know, he exudes confidence, but he's genuine, and it truly impacted me.
He is also the founder and president of the Canfield Training Institute, which trains entrepreneurs, corporate leaders, managers, and sales professionals in how to enhance their self-esteem and accelerate the achievement of their personal, professional, and financial goals. Jack has personally helped tens of thousands of people on 6 different continents become multimillionaires, best-selling authors, leading sales professionals, successful entrepreneurs, and world-class leaders, while at the same time creating balanced, fulfilling, and healthy lives.
He's amazing. He's very motivational.
He's very engaging, and it's almost like he's talking to us one-on-one rather than a group of people.
He's very positive, very upbeat, and he's very believable.
An awesome program.
Now, Jack was recently inducted into the National Speaker Association's Hall of Fame. He has appeared on over 1,000 radio and television shows, including Oprah, Montel, Larry King Live, The Today Show, and his own PBS special on the secret to living the law of attraction. Jack was one of the teachers featured in the hit movie and #1 best-selling book, The Secret. His publications also include The Success Principles, The Power of Focus, The Aladdin Factor.
You just gravitate towards him.
He tells it like it is, and it's just it's a reality check.
He's got one of the greatest speaking styles, even his writing, everything's very personal.
Jack has been presenting these principles and strategies for more than 30 years to corporations, governments, and universities in over 30 countries. His clients have included Virgin Records, Sony Pictures, Federal Express, GE, Johnson & Johnson, Merrill Lynch, Campbell's Soup, Remax, Sprint, the $1 Million Roundtable, the Young Presidents Organization, and many others. Please help me welcome Jack Canfield.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate that. It's fun to work with you. I've been living the law of attraction for probably ever since I was in my 20s. I didn't even know I was doing it then, just something I naturally did. So then now it's become a field of study. There are books out by everybody. Everybody and their uncle has a website on it. And yet a lot of people are using it and still not achieving the goals they want. So we're going to take a look at what is it that's blocking us. What are some of the unexercised pieces of the technology that need to be focused on. I love this. It says, "This life is a test. It is only a test. If it had been an actual life, you would have received further instructions on where to go and what to do." That was a sign that I saw on a person's cubicle in a company that I worked with. And so I thought that's pretty accurate. You know, most of us don't have a guidebook about how to live the perfect life. We weren't born with an operator's manual. You know, your VCR has more instructions in it than most of us got growing up. And when you look at your life and you think about what you learned in school, most of what we learned in school we never used. It means when the last time you quoted the 5 causes of the Civil War to anybody, you know? That never happened. And yet only about 3% of kids going to school in America ever learn about setting goals, how to control their own mood states and emotional states, learning about universal principles and laws and relationships, communication skills, values, ethics, the things that really matter in our life. Now what I did a book. I put a book together a couple years ago. It's called The Success Principles, How to Get From Where You Are to Where You Want to Be. It has 64 principles in it. And we're going to look at some of those tonight because they relate to law of attraction. I'm also going to draw upon the movie The Secret and the book The Secret, which I was featured in along with 23 other people. How many of you have seen The Secret, by the way? Can I see a show of hands? Almost everybody. How many have not, just to make sure? Okay, about a fourth. So what happens is a lot of people, they're doing a lot of it, but it's not working. And one of the reasons is because they're sitting there visualizing and thinking it's all going to work. They just have to have a good feeling, create a vibrational match, ask, believe, receive, and sit in their bedroom and a Cadillac will show up in their garage, you know? And unless you live at the bottom of a hill, like where a T is, you know, it's not likely. And so there's that. And the other thing that's stopping people is that they're not addressing the unconscious limiting beliefs that are below the threshold of awareness that are stopping you. So we're going to take a look tonight about how to deal with both of those issues. But let's go ahead and talk about this. If you could, would you rather take the short route or the long route to success? Short route. That make sense? Yeah. So wouldn't it make sense just to do that? Yeah. Turbo mouse. Just like go right for the cheese. Because too many of us, literally, we get lost in the maze. You know, we're not clear. We get stuck. We just go down cul-de-sacs. We just want to be able to go straight to it. And what I've devoted my life to, literally the last 33 years, since I met W. Clement Stone, who was my mentor, who introduced me to the law of attraction, although at that time he called it the power of positive thinking and the power of positive expectancy. What happened was, I've really been intrigued with how do you go faster, further, with less effort. And what we're going to share tonight is the mental aspect of doing that. How can we go where we want to go further without expending as much effort? That doesn't mean no action. Remember we said action? But action that you enjoy, action that's fun, action that goes like, wow, this is really cool. I get to do this, amazing. I mean, I get to stand here and talk to you about things I care about and get paid ridiculous amounts of money and make a DVD that other people that couldn't get here will get to see and pay me money for and have their life changed and then get hundreds of letters a week about you changed my life. That's fun, okay? I do that for free. I do. Probably 20 times a year, 10, 20 times a year, I do them for nonprofit organizations. And if I was retired, which I don't ever plan to because I'm having too much fun, but if I were, I'm sure I'd go out and give free talks and write more books because when I'm not happy. You know, I think it was Thomas Edison said, when your vocation becomes your vacation, you've reached the pinnacle in life. You know, what you love, you know, do you think Oprah's having fun? I mean, I've been on her show. She's having fun. She's having fun when she's making movies. She's having fun when she's doing her show. She's having fun building that school in Africa, doing all the things she does when she can give everyone in the audience a car. You don't think that's a trip? You know, that's fun. And so when Tiger Woods is playing golf, when Andre Agassi is playing tennis, they're having fun. So you want to figure out, and one of the things we talk about in Law of Attraction is follow your bliss, follow your heart, do what you love, the money will follow. Create the vibrational match for bringing in more by doing the things that make you feel good. So Law of Attraction is always at work. People say, well, it's not working in my life. I have the worst luck ever. You know? Well, guess what? They're focusing on what? The worst luck ever. And what they get more of? More bad luck. Okay? So whatever you think about, focus on, you're going to get more of. And the reality is most people spend their entire life talking about reality. And what you have to do if you're going to become successful with the Law of Attraction is talk about your vision. Talk about what you want. Talk about how you're expecting it to happen. You know, my main mentor was a guy named W. Clement Stone. He was an inverse paranoid. He literally thought the world was plotting to do him good all the time. You know? And he talked about it. I mean, you know, literally, I remember when he was talking to this guy whose house had just fallen in the ocean in California. They do that on the edge of the ocean sometimes, you know. And the guy said, well, what good's going to come from this? And Stone actually helped him figure out what the good was. And I had a client recently, their car broke down on the side of the road, and they're going, well, how could this be good? The person that pulled over to help him, they end up marrying him. Okay, so you never know. So everything that you think about that's bad could be something that has a really good. W. Clement Stone always said every negative event, and that's just made up, we decide it's negative, has within it the seed of an equal or greater benefit. You know, many of you have gotten illnesses, and as a result of that, changed your life, became more conscious, changed your diet, met really cool people, got out of your negativity. Some of you had a divorce, and you thought it was the end of the world, only to find a year later you were happier. You had to develop internal strength and become more self-sufficient, and maybe you met someone that was even more fulfilling than the person you lost. You know, death, grief, all those things, there's actually a gift in all of that. One of the teachers in The Secret, John D. Martini, he teaches this. My wife's best friend died a number of years ago from cancer. She had cancer. She was so freaked out about it, she wouldn't tell anyone. By the time she finally went to the doctor, it was too late. And these were people that really, really loved each other. I mean, they were like, you know, peas in a pod. And so she was totally convinced her life was over. She'd put all this energy, you know, like all your eggs in one basket kind of for friendship. And we were working with John D. Martini, and he helped my wife realize in about 2 hours, she went through the amount of healing work it might take 6 months for a normal grieving person. Here's what John teaches. Every time you lose something, what you lost shows up immediately around you, but it shows up in other people. And so he said, what was one of the qualities you lost when Shannon died? She said, well, someone that was really funny. He says, okay, now think, when she died, who showed up in your life that was really funny? And she said, wow, it's true. I just reconnected with my niece at that point. My niece is hysterical. Okay, what was the other quality? He went down through all the qualities. And by the end of that 2-hour process, she realized everything she'd lost in Shannon had showed up in some other area of her life. Because the universe is all about balance. It never takes anything away without giving you something as well. But most of us never learned that. So what do? We look at what left us and we focus all our energy there and we feel bad, and then we attract more stuff into our life to feel bad about instead of going, okay, that left, what's there? Anytime a door closes, another one opens. See, it works like that. All right, let's keep going. Law of attraction. As I said, it's universal, it's like gravity, it's always working. Everything in your life that you're experiencing, you have attracted into your life. By your thoughts, your fantasies, your fears, which are just fantasies of bad things as opposed to fantasies of good things. You've attracted it by the emotions that are created by that. Now here's a little nuance for those of you who are studying this. Often comes up, can you watch the news? Because the news is so negative. And the answer is yes, as long as you have no emotional reaction to it. But how long has it been since you could watch the news and see people being killed and slaughtered and people blowing up and kidnappings happening, and you don't go, gosh, that shouldn't happen that way? I mean, how many of you watched Katrina and got really mad, you know, as people weren't responding and the government wasn't responding and people were there and people were dying and helicopters and you know, I mean, I remember being in Hawaii and I said, we got to turn this off because I'm getting angry. You know, as long I can watch the news neutrally a lot, but I was getting angry. See, if you can do it without reaction, great. But as soon as you have an emotion, that emotion goes off into the universe and attracts back to you that which is in harmonic resonance with that emotion. So a lot of people say like attracts like. It's not really like that. Because really, if you look at your relationships, you actually are more attracted to people who are different from you because they energize you. My wife's really spontaneous and fun. I tend to be more serious, more sedentary. She's a kinesthetic, I'm a visual auditory. And you know, she's like, let's go swim naked in the beach. You know, and I'm going, really? She just jumps in, you know, she's like a dolphin. She just has so much fun. She's a total player. Like her life purpose is to, I call her a day maker. When people end up talking to my wife for an hour, they go, you made my day. She leaves messages. People actually call back and say, that's the best message I've ever had on an answering machine in my life. She's like that. You know, I leave very officious messages, you know, because that's me. Now, she's attracted to my groundedness, and I'm attracted to her spontaneity. And normally in a relationship, you get a balloon and a string. 2 strings, very boring. Okay? 2 balloons, you just fly away out of space, and you know. But it's that dynamic tension between the differences that you have. And here's another theory I have, that you are attracted to people that are actualizing parts of you that you need to learn how to actualize that you haven't actualized yet. That's often why people will grow apart after a while. You got what you were meant to get out of that relationship. And that's often painful, given that most of us think that longevity is the, what we call definition of a great relationship. But quite often you'll meet somebody, this happens with friends too. You learn to be more assertive or have more fun or learn how to sell or learn how to ask for what you want or whatever it is. And then all of a sudden there's no juice, there's no learning, there's no dynamism, there's nothing new going on. Now, in a long-term committed relationship, we can learn to keep growing and expanding ourselves and reaching out and, you know, trying on new things, keep the dynamic alive. But in general, we're attracted to people who are more different than they are similar. But how law of attraction works is when you're holding an emotion, it will go out, it sends out a signal, and anything that's in harmonic resonance with that signal will be attracted to you, and you will be attracted to it. It will start to resonate. I'll give you an example. If we had 5 tuning forks in a room, an A, an E, a C, a D, an F, and another A, right? What would happen is, if I hit the tuning fork that's an A over here, this A tuning fork will start to vibrate. The other 3 won't. It's not in harmonic resonance with it. When you walk into a room, you can feel people who you're in harmonic resonance. You'll look around and someone will go, oh, that person's attractive to me. Not necessarily because they're physical, although it may be a physical attraction, but there's just something about them, and I kind of want to edge over. Maybe I kind of listen to their conversation a little bit on the edge, see if ooh, yeah, I like what she's talking about. That's kind of cool. And now I'm more attracted, see, because it's vibrating within me. Someone that's charismatic walks into a room, they get a lot of people vibrating, you know, because you are in a harmonic resonance with whatever it is that they're doing. If you take a piano and you hit a C chord on one piano, if there's another piano in the room, those same strings will start to vibrate. It's called harmonic resonance, and the same thing works with law of attraction. So this is why it's important that you keep your mental state at a high level. You keep your emotions at a high level, enthusiasm, love, joy, compassion, peace, etc. Because when you're in that state, you're going to attract more in. We're going to talk a little bit about meditation, forgiveness, appreciation, gratitude. Whenever you're in those states, you're going to attract more to appreciate, more to be grateful for, more things to love, more things to feel joyful about. This making sense so far? Okay, good. All right. So, again, whatever you think about, talk about, fantasize about, give your attention to, and feel deeply about, you are going to attract more into your life. The more deeply you feel about it, the more adamantly you're going to attract it. So one of the principles I want to talk to you about, I talked a little about this earlier today with some of you, but I want to just remind us that you must take 100% responsibility for your life. Law of attraction basically says you're setting it up, you're creating it. And so you can act like you're not, but it's still going to work. If you don't believe in gravity, I don't believe in gravity. Have you ever known anyone that didn't believe in gravity and jumped off a building and floated? I mean, the law is working whether you believe in it or not. Okay? So it's really not important you believe in it. It's important you understand it and cooperate with it so you can create more of what you want in your life. So that requires that you're going to give up blaming and complaining about other people creating your life. Law of attraction basically states that everything in your life you've attracted. Nobody else can interfere with that attraction. You can't blame it on your, if only my wife were more of this, then I would attract more of this into my life. Now, we do know this from the work of Dr. John Hagelin, who you may have seen in the movie The Secret also. He's a physicist, Harvard trained. He's published many, many articles in what they call juried articles, where people, other physicists read them and review them, and he's a very, very respected physicist. And he's now hypothecating that the force field that you create when you're thinking and intending and feeling strongly about something, like you have an intention, for world peace, or for being a millionaire, or for stopping hunger in your county, or housing humanity through Habitat for Humanity, whatever it might be your intention is, that the force field created by that, what one of my friends, Zendebruck, calls the attractor field that you create, is the square of the number of people having the same intention at the same time. Now think about that. If I'm intending for me to be healthy, that's one person. If the two of us are intending that, my doctor and myself, or my wife and myself, and we're holding that intention in a meditation or a prayer group at that same time, so it's people, same intention at the same time, now we have a force field of 4. Because the square of 2 is 4. If the 3 of us were doing it, it's a force field of 9. 100, it's a force field of 10,000. This is why prayer groups, which there's been so much research about group healing, and Larry Dossey's work you can read. Basically, what happens is that you get a whole bunch of people holding the same intention at the same time, and it can, in fact, have a huge impact. And I'll show you some other things later that reinforce that in the physical realm that was being done as physics research right now. So nobody can stop you, but people working together with a common intention can accelerate through this dynamic of the attractor field being the square of the number of people. Now think about this. If you live in a you work in a corporation, and you've got 9 people, and 7 of them are really looking at the same direction, and 2 aren't, okay? Would it make sense to try to get those 2 on board, to enroll them in the vision, to do whatever it takes? Because your attractor field is going to go from 25 to 49. That's a huge jump. It's a double just by getting 2 more people enrolled in the game. So, to have the family all working with a similar set of values, to have a nation with a similar set. I mean, we have a very fractionated nation right now. Half the nation is conservative, half the nation is fairly liberal and democratic. And, every election is won by a small minority. But if we could get us all focusing in the same direction, even if we don't always agree on the same how-to, but the same goal, we would have a lot more happening in terms of getting results, what we want to see happening in the world. Okay. Now, Jim Rohn said you can't hire other people to do your push-ups for you. I love that, right? It's not them that's going to do the work for me. It's me. I'm going to do the thinking, the meditating, the visualizing, the forgiveness work, the journal writing, all the things that will accelerate this work. I'm going to be the one responsible for maintaining my vibration. How many of you have ever woken up in the morning and said, I know I'm not in a good mood. Those people last night at the party, they really ticked me off, you know, and I can't get over it. Or, you know, that person ruined my day, right? You say, that call ruined my day. Like someone out there is responsible for your vibration. Someone out there is responsible for your mood. It's not true. It's what you're thinking about what they said. It's your attitude, your beliefs about it. And I'll give you some tools as we go through this about how to release those kind of things when they show up, but we'll get there when we get there. So you can't hire other people to do your thinking, your visualizing, or your managing of your emotional vibration. Most people don't wake up in the morning and go, oh, I'm responsible for how I feel today. What am I going to do to keep my vibration high? You know, I mean, even people in California don't wake up and say stuff like that, right? But really, one of the most important things is that you keep yourself feeling good. One of the main teachers, Esther Hicks, says that there's nothing more important than you feel good. If you're not feeling good, you've got to stop what you're doing and say, what can I do to raise my vibration, to create what they call a better feeling thought? I'll give you an example of this. If I say, you know, my wife forgets my birthday, and I say, wow, my wife forgot my birthday. I'm miserable. You know, means she doesn't love me. That's not a great thought. It creates a miserable feeling. Or I could say in the same situation, wow, someone who loves me forgot my birthday. Raise the thought up. There's no men in this town. How am I ever going to find someone to get married? There's no men in this town. Is that going to leave you feeling good? No. But if you go, there must be some men in this town, because Georgia just got married, and Marcy has a nice husband. That's two men I can think of, you know. Now, if they found a man, probably there's someone else that, you know, I bet there's someone now perfect for me, and they're on their way. I just have to open up and receive them into my life. That's going to leave you feeling better. Now, you could say, well, that's not very realistic. If you really look around, Montecito, where I live, there's all these women and not that many men, you know, and that's a fact. Washington, D.C., there are more women than men because there are secretarial kind of efforts that go on here. It's mostly a bureaucracy. But the point is, people get married. So you're not interested in everyone else. You. There's someone coming for you. That's all that matters. And if you focus on that as opposed to there are not enough men in this town, I'm going to die an old maid, and then you feel bad, and what man's going to be attracted to a woman who's walking around like this? You know? You want to be someone who's excited. How? I'm happy. And you also want to be someone who goes, wow, even if there never were a man, I'm still complete. You know? That's another thing that raises your vibration. So you really want to look at, anytime you're not feeling good, what's a different thought you could be thinking? Now, we never got trained to do that in school. Anyone have a class on that? When you were going to grade school, elementary school, high school, graduate school, how to raise your feelings by thinking better thoughts? No. But it's one of the most important things you can ever learn. And so I used to wear a rubber band on my hand, and every time I thought a negative thought, I would snap myself. Not to punish me, but to heighten my awareness. It got my attention. And then I would say, okay, what's a better thought I can think? And I would go to another thought. All right. So one of the laws that underlies the law of attraction is what we call the law of vibration. And what it says is that everything in the universe is vibrating. Right now, every cell in you is a vibration. If you go to the subatomic level, everything's vibrating, all right? And so if everything's vibrating, the other thing we know is your thoughts affect the vibration. Your thoughts can change the vibration. We talk about people with good vibes, people with bad vibes. I mean, it's in the language. You know, the Beach Boys, good vibrations. We walk into a room, I don't like the vibes in here, I want to leave. You know, that person has bad vibes. So the vibration that's going on is controllable by your thoughts. We know from physics that everything exists in a state of potential, in this thing they call the quantum field or the 0-point field. And what happens is when you think a thought, it actually aggregates more thoughts to that. It aggregates energy to that, and it starts to move into a form of manifestation. And so we are responsible, again, for focusing on the vibrations that are going to attract to us what we want. So you always focus on what you want, not the obstacles. Because the more I focus on the obstacle. How many times have you had this experience? You're driving on a bicycle and you see a rock in the road. If you keep looking at that rock, what are you going to do? You're going to hit it. You know what my dad taught me? Look at the space between the rock and the next object. You know, because wherever your attention goes, your energy flows. You notice you're driving down the road in your car and you see a cow over there looking really interesting, and all of a sudden you're driving off the side of the road, right? So we know in our physical reality that works. So it also works on the more esoteric metaphysical level. Okay. So your body is an energy in high speed of vibration fed by thoughts and directives from your brain. Now I'm going to do a little activity with you here. I want you to look at the bottom of your hand, and I want you to see there's going to be a little line across the bottom where the wrist is. You all got that? Okay. So I want you to overlap that line on this hand, put it exactly over the other line so they're 100% lined up, and then just extend your hands like this into a prayer position. Everyone got that? Now if you look at your hands, you're going to see that one hand is just a little shorter than the other. One's a little longer than the other. Most of you see that? Okay. If that's true, take the shorter hand and put it in front of your face. If it's not true, take either hand and put it in front of your face. It's irrelevant. Okay? Now, we're going to look at this hand, and we're going to say 8 times in unison, all out loud together, grow longer. We're going to give the intention to the hand to grow longer. Okay? So we're going to do it on the count of 3. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Grow longer. 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 One more time. Grow longer. All right, now line them up again perfectly, just the way you did last time. And notice what happened. No, 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 no. You've just entered the twilight zone. Now, first of all, some bad news about this for the men in the room. So far, the research has only shown that this happens with the hands, okay? So anyway, don't waste your time. But what we did, we just had an intention, a mental thought intention, and it created a physical response in your body. Just a very small example of how powerful pure intention is. And there wasn't a lot of resistance in the room with that. It was just called, well, what the heck, do it and see what happens. And boom, okay? Now, look at your hand again, same hand. And we're going to say 6 times, because that's all it takes for this, back to normal. Okay? Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Back to normal. 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 Stop. Line them up again. How weird is that, right? I actually have a teacher of mine by the name of Chunyi Lin. He's a Qigong master from China. One of these guys who spent like 6 years meditating in a cave type guys. He now works in conjunction with the Mayo Clinic over there, and he teaches people energy healing. And he can literally come out, I don't have the power yet, but he can come out and he can literally have you put your hands up like this. He'll have you do this, and then he'll just have you put your short hand up, and he'll just go like this with his hands. And from the power of his intention, you go back and your other hand is now longer. That's what's possible. Most of us are never going to go sit in a cave for 6 years to be able to do that. Not all that useful a skill. You know, hey, you want to see something cool? You know. But qi being the Chinese word for energy, you know, Tai Chi, you see all those people doing those slow movement stuff. He's learned how to control the flow of energy with his mind at such a high level that he can manifest all kinds of things, including healing cancers with people and so on and so forth. Very, very powerful. And he can teach you how to do your own. You may remember in the movie The Secret, the woman who talked about getting rid of breast cancer, the guy who walked out of the hospital after they said he'd never walk again. This grow longer thing is the exact same thing we're doing. They just do it for longer with a bigger intention for a bigger part of the body called I'm going to walk again, or I'm going to heal my cancer, or get rid of leukemia. So we know that this stuff works. You just have to take the time to do it. All right. So every thought you think is sending out a vibration. Every thought. Think of it this way. You have a telephone, right? A wireless telephone, cell phone. And there's no wires. How does the information of your voice, your cadence, your tone, your words, your thoughts travel through space and download to someone in Singapore? It's all through energy called a wave. It has amplitude, which is how high does it go. It has frequency, which is how often does it go up and down. That's basically it, okay? And so that wave is encoded with information. And every time you think a thought, there is a wave that goes out that's encoded with that information that has an impact on the ethers, they would call it in physics, on the cosmic force field, the zero-point field, the quantum field, what we call God, source, infinite intelligence, you know, all those names we have for that same thing depending on our culture and our religious background. And we can send this information through what a friend of mine calls the internet. We all know about the internet, right? We've used the internet. You go on Google and Yahoo and so forth. But the internet says, I can send a thought. We now know from research with astronauts a minimum of 250,000 miles. How do we know that? We send astronauts up on the moon, or lunar orbiting up there, and they're asked to open up envelopes at a predetermined time. They can shuffle them, pick a number, envelope 7. They open it up. There's a form in there, like a square, a circle, a triangle, a pentagon, whatever it is. And then they focus on that and think about it for a minute. They put it back in, record what it was, and they go about their business. They're doing lots of experiments all day long up there. Meanwhile, at that same time, there are students gathered at Duke University in what they call the Parapsychology Center, and they close their eyes, and they try to pick up what it is the astronaut's thinking about. And they have an uncannily high, connection. So we know that thought can travel a minimum of 250,000 miles. Now, thought, we know from Deepak Chopra's writings, he's studied this quantum physics, actually is what they call non-locality. It's here and then it's there. It didn't even travel in between. How does that happen? It's somehow through this quantum field, it just disappears here and shows up there. And we see that with particles and so forth. So we know that your thoughts have that ability to just be here and be there. And we also know that if you have, like, I believe you're her daughter, is that correct? Okay. So you have a relationship that's bonded and important. Some of you are sitting next to your spouse and so forth. Anytime you've had an interaction with somebody, you've created a resonant relationship, such that if she were over in Europe and had an automobile accident, you might wake up at that exact moment in the middle of the night and go, something happened to my daughter. How would you know? They didn't send a telegram, but we see that happening all the time. There was a study done with baby rabbits. This is a terrible study, but they did it in Leningrad. They took baby rabbits, put them in a submarine, and took them down around Australia. They're way under the water, where they can't even get radio communication. And at random intervals, decided by a computer, they actually kill these baby rabbits. So that's why I said it's a terrible experiment. Now, the mother rabbit's back in the laboratory in Leningrad, and every time one of those baby rabbits is killed, all of her EEG, EKG, galvanic skin response, heart rate, respiration rates go crazy. So we know that, we don't know if she's conscious of it or unconscious of it, we know she has picked up something's wrong, something happened. That signal went through the cosmos and got there, okay? And I'll show you some other things later that are even equally interesting with all that. But it's sending out a vibration, and it seems to be, it travels faster than light, or just boom, it's there, and we know it goes at least 250,000 miles, which means any thought you're thinking on Earth, you're sending out what I call a mass email, spam, to the entire planet, okay? And so like I say, gee, I'd like to create a movie about how to end welfare in California. And all of a sudden, 3 weeks later, I'm on an airplane and someone says, hi, and I say, what do you do? She said, I run the welfare department for California. In a way, she's saying, I got your email. Okay? So people are responding, but it's not like they just pick up the phone and say, hi, I got your email. They show up as an opportunity. And a lot of us miss the opportunity. One of the trainings I took recently asked me to think this, is that everyone that comes into your life is there for a purpose. And ask yourself, what's the opportunity that this person is? What need are they bringing into my life that they could possibly fulfill? Now I see everyone as a potential gift to me rather than as someone who's bugging me, interrupting me, etc. What's the opportunity that this is? Even when I have an event that seems like it's off purpose. I'm running through the airport and my briefcase opens and everything fills on the floor. I say, oh, what fun. It's another thing I learned from juggling. When you drop the ball, you don't go, oh, damn. You go, oh, what fun. It changes your attitude. And then I say, what's the opportunity that this is? I may have missed my flight, and then on the next flight, I'm sitting next to someone who could change my life. You get the idea? It's all orchestrated in your behalf. It's a beneficent universe that will deliver to you what you order, but you got to take responsibility for what you're ordering, because you're sending out these cosmic work orders to the universe every time you have a thought. Which means you should get very clear about what? What you're thinking. And become a deliberate creator rather than a reactionary thinker. Most of your thoughts are in reaction to what's happening outside of you instead of instead of deliberately creating that which is that you want to create. I was just in New York the other day with John Assaraf, who's in the movie The Secret. And we were doing a workshop for Remax, which he was a member of, as you remember. And we were co-leading this. And one of the things he said I thought was really interesting. He said, you know, the things that's stopping us are our beliefs. So the question is, a lot of us are going, well, what's my negative belief that's stopping me? He said, it's irrelevant. Don't even think about it. Don't worry about it. Just ask yourself the following question. I thought this was really interesting. He said, think about, we were asking everyone there to double their income in 1 year. We're saying, oh, if you could do that, would that be good? Now, yeah. And we're in a down market with the credit crunch and, you know, all that stuff that's going on because of the subprime loan problem. And there are still people, there's one guy in the room had increased his sales 500% in the last 6 months. Now, so we said, what belief do you think he has to have that might be different than your belief? What beliefs does he have about the market? What beliefs does he have about his ability to produce results no matter what's going on in the market? What beliefs does he have about his ability to sell? What beliefs does he have about his ability to fulfill people's needs, which is all you're ever doing when you're selling if you're ethical? And we went on. And so think about, what belief would I have to pull that off? If I was going to do that, what would I have to believe that I don't believe now? Do you think that Tiger Woods has a different set of beliefs than maybe some guy who didn't make the pro cut? I would bet you he's talking to himself differently. You know, you look at, if you study Tony Robbins' work, you've seen him on TV, he talks a lot about modeling people. You find someone who's already doing what you want to do, and you model them. What does that mean? You think the kind of thoughts they think. You visualize the kind of things they're visualizing. You do the things they do. You want to get thin? Find some thin person and just do what they do. If you're overweight, you're going to find they're not eating as much as you. And you're going to find they're eating different things than you. And you're going to find they stop eating after 8:30 more than likely. You're going to find that they are doing something to bring up their metabolism. They're getting up in the morning and going for a 30-minute run or a walk or whatever it might be. They're exercising more. So, you know, you can model people, but the big thing you've got to model is, what is their mindset? So there's three things that control you in life: your mindset, your skill set, and your environments. And you have to take control of those things. Your mindset is all we're talking about tonight. Law of attraction, your mind. Your skill sets. You might have a lot of desire to be a doctor, but if you don't go to school and learn how to wield a scalpel, you're not going to be a heart surgeon. And then there's environments. Your environments control you. If you don't have a good filing system, it can cost you hours looking for things. That's an environment. If your office is a total mess and you can never find anything, that's an environment. The people you hang out with, your network, is an environment. Your physical space in your living room, in your bedroom, is an environment. I remember working with a woman in a seminar once, and she had her whole bed, except for this much, was covered with books. And then she said, you know, there's never a man in my life. Like, where would he fit, you know? It's amazing what we do. And so, you know, the old idea, you got to throw out stuff to make space for the new. If your closet's full of clothes you never wear, you're not going to attract in new clothes. There's no space for them. So you want to give away what you don't need, what doesn't fit, what you're never going to wear again. And if you're saying, well, I'm not giving away that, those are my fat clothes, in case I ever get fat again, I don't want to have to go buy new clothes. What are you saying? You're saying, I expect to be fat again, right? So a lot of subtlety with this, but you know, you start to see how it all fits together. All right, so every thought sending out a vibration. We talked about the 0-point field. It activates it, and then it attracts to you. Now, to be clear about this, you may want a, let's call it, we'll say a Lexus, or we're in the Detroit area, I'll say a Cadillac. We need to be locally, politically correct here. So you want an American-made luxury car. Now, here it is. You want it. That's great. You may not attract a Cadillac, but what you may attract is someone that will hire you as a consultant for 6 months that will allow you to have the extra income to manifest the Cadillac. You will attract experiences, opportunities, strategies, books, articles, people saying, come to Jack's workshop. You ended up here somehow. You attracted this experience into your life. You attracted this organization, the email, the friend that said, why don't you go with me? You know, because in some way it's going to help you achieve something that's important to you. And the God source, the 0-point field, is out ahead of you. It's up here. See, like right now, you can see a certain part of the room, but if you were up in the ceiling there, you could see the whole room. And so the universe, if you want to call it that, is up there. It sees it all. And so it knows, I want to get to work on time. And all of a sudden, it can see 6 miles down the road, if you take, you know, the 105, you're going to hit a traffic jam. And then you get this inner impulse. It says to you, hey, why don't you get off at this exit, go to Starbucks, get some coffee, and take the service road. And you're going, well, that's kind of a weird thing. We have coffee at work. And if you honor it, you end up getting to work early. If you don't, you go, what's this traffic jam? How do I get to this mess, right? So you'll get something will help you out, but it won't always be like, here's some tickets to the Olympics. Sometimes it happens. It happened for me. I said, I want to go to the Olympics. And it was literally like a week later, once I made the commitment, looked at the calendar, saw when it was, saw what was going on around it, I had the time. Made the commitment, talked to my wife, said, I want to go. She said, I have no interest whatsoever to go to China, to sit in a bunch of sports things. She doesn't like to watch them, she likes to do them. And so I said, fine, I'll take my son. That's great, you guys need to bond. Okay, call my son, he's willing to go. Week later, I'm walking into a conference. It's a multi-level marketing company that hired me as a motivational speaker for their conference. And I'm literally walking over to the table where they give you the microphone, and the guy walks up to me and says, he's Chinese looking. He walks over to me and goes, hi, are you Jack Canfield? I said, yeah. He said, have you ever spoken in China? I said, I've spoken in Hong Kong, but not the mainland. He said, would you like to? I said, absolutely. He said, I can arrange that. Then I said, what I really want to do is get some tickets to the Olympics for my son and I. He said, oh, that's no problem. My brother works for the government. I can get that for you. No, 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 no. So sometimes it will happen like that, okay? But sometimes it takes a little longer. And sometimes, a lot of times we go like, I should have it by now. It didn't show up by now, but it will show up. But you have to be patient. And you also have to look at, it doesn't always show up wrapped in the clothes that you think it's going to show up in. It comes as an opportunity. It comes as a connection. It comes as an invitation to go somewhere. And you've got to honor that and trust your intuition. All right. There's 3 parts to this. We're going to go through these 3 parts. First one says ask. You have to decide what you want. Second says believe, expect it, and take action. See, taking action is an expression of belief. If I said I'm going to do a seminar tonight at 10 o'clock after this is over on how to levitate out of your chair. Take 1 minute, cost you $1,000, but I can teach you how to do that. Most of you would not sign up. You go, I've never seen anyone levitate. If that guy could do it, he would have been on Larry King by now. Something like that. And certainly for $1,000, I don't want to risk it. You go, honey, see if it works, kind of thing. You're not going to take action if you don't believe the action has some potential value. So every time you take an action, the Bible talks about acts of faith. You have faith, so you act. You act without being able to see. And so the faith part, the belief part of this has to do with action. Action falls into that segment. And then finally, you have to receive. In other words, you could order something from a store, Amazon.com, let's say, and you have to have what? A post box or an address where they give it to you. If you order a couch and you say, leave it in my mailbox, they go, your mailbox is not big enough. And so that's the metaphor here. If you order something from the universe, but your space, your emotional space, your sense of abundance, your vibrational, we call it the vibrational match. You have to match vibrationally that which you're attracting in your life. If it's not big enough, they can't deliver it. So if I want more abundance, I have to be acting how? Abundantly. If I want more love, I need to be giving love. If I want more joy, I need to be in a joyful state. If I want more friends, I need to be a friend. Okay, so we're going to break this down and look at each of these 3 areas here. So we talked about the power of your mind. We did the grow longer exercise. I want to do another thing with you. This is really very powerful. So we've talked about thoughts being what we call subverbalized thoughts. You're talking to yourself. There's another kind of thought. It's called a picture, a visual, an image. And we think in pictures. We have dreams at night. We're sitting there daydreaming, and all of a sudden we see things flashing in our field of consciousness. So I want to show you how those affect you and show you how you can control that to actually produce greater success in your life. Remember, more success, faster, further, less effort. So I'd like everybody to stand up and put your things on the chair or to the side so you're not holding anything. I want your hands to be free. Okay, very good. Now, what I'm going to ask you to do in just a minute, just watch me for a moment. Don't actually do anything yet. But in a minute, I'm going to ask you to raise your right arm up in front of you like this. Then I'm going to ask you with your feet, in fact, let's do that part now. Put your feet about 12 inches apart, nice solid stance like a martial artist might have. And I'm going to ask you not to pivot on your feet during this exercise like a basketball player. Your feet are glued to the floor. You can bend your knees like a skier, but your feet don't move. Everyone got that? Now, arm up. Don't do that yet. I'm still talking about the direction. Sorry. So here's your arm up. And what you're going to do is in a moment, you'll twist your body to your opposite shoulder as far as you can go. And when you can't go any further, you're going to pretend there's a little laser beam coming off your hand. Notice where it is. Mine's about 5 folds over from the black curtain there in the gray. I can see exactly where it's pointing. When you're doing that, look to the right, look to the left. Pretend you're taking a digital photograph. I see more folds of gray and the shadow that it creates. About 5 folds over, I see the black screen. I can see the screen with my slide on it in the peripheral vision. Okay? Now, we're taking a mark here. It's kind of like I'm putting a notch in a wall. How far did I get? All right? Now, as you're turning, if there's somebody's head there, do not hit it. Okay? But I also want you not to stop turning because I want you to turn. I only want your stopping to be as a result of an obstacle, not as the result, as a result of you can't turn your body any further rather than you've hit an obstacle. Okay? So what we'll be doing is we're turning when we can't turn anymore. If you see a head there, bend your elbow, keep turning, re-extend to whatever length you can. Everybody got it? Okay, here we go. So arms up. And you're going to go ahead and turn as far as you can. When you can't turn any further, notice where your hand is pointing. Take a little digital photograph, lock it in, little laser beam off there, and then when you're ready, come on back to the middle. Take as long as you need. Now, if you have a little stitch in your side there, it means more stretching is part of your life, okay? All right, now if you will, just close your eyes for a second, and I'll show you the power of visualization to transform your life. With your eyes closed, just imagine. Don't actually move any part of your body now. We're just going to imagine this. Imagine, feel it, imagine it, see it, but don't actually move anything. Imagine you're lifting that same arm up. Imagine you're moving it across your body in the same direction as before. But this time, when you get to the spot you stopped, you're magically able to go another foot to 2 feet further. There's no effort, there's no strain, there's no pain. You're just able to go further. Create an image in your mind of the new picture of where your hand would be pointing, using what you remember from your little digital photograph that you took in your mind. Where would your hand be pointing now? Make a real clear picture of it in your head as best you can. Make it vivid, color, see all the details. Some of you will actually see it, some of you will be more thinking it, that's just as fine. Use the power of your creativity. And then imagine bringing your arm back to the middle, down to your side, keeping your eyes closed. We're just going to imagine that one more time. So imagine that you're lifting your right arm up, you're moving it across your body, twisting your body, you go to the first place, you go a foot to 2, 3 feet further. See where your hand will be pointing. Just lock in that new image. Excellent. Imagine bringing it back down to the side, and then open your eyes. Very good. Now, let's put our right arm up again. We're going to go as far as we can, see how far we can go. Let's notice what happens this time. And then come on back. By show of hands, how many of you went further? No, 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 no. We're back to that. Okay, take a seat real quick. So what we see is that when we hold an image, our brain will, in fact, try to make that image happen. Aristotle, 2,000 years ago, said the brain is a teleological mechanism, or the mind is a teleological mechanism. What is that word? It's a fancy Greek word for goal-seeking. So as soon as you set the goal, the brain tries to figure out how to do it. Now, some of you just went further. Some of you got to where you were before and you bent your elbow like that. You went further. It doesn't matter how you did it, you did it. You couldn't not settle for it at some level. You wanted to have it happen. The brain says, let's make the image real. Your brain always wants to do that. It'll do the same thing with negative stuff. Oh, if we go to that party, nobody's going to talk to us. It's going to be miserable. We're going to want to leave early. And sure enough, you get there, you go, told you, you know. So what you want to do is, and we'll talk a little more about this later, but every day spend a few minutes visualizing your goals as already complete. Visualize the things you say you want as already complete, as already real for you. Feel the feelings you'd feel. If you don't know what it feels like to drive a new Mercedes-Benz and that's one of your goals, how are you going to feel the feeling? Go down to the Mercedes-Benz dealership. Ask for a test drive. They're not going to ask to see your Platinum American Express card, I promise you. They'll simply take you out. Now you come back and you go, that was cool. I have a son who has a very old Volkswagen bus. He's 16. And it's a good thing we got him that. He's had a few little minor fender benders. But he needed to borrow my car for 2 days while I was gone on this trip. And I called him and I said, how's it going? How do you like driving my car? I love this car. You know, I don't know if I can drive my van again, you know. See, he has a new sense of what he wants that didn't exist before because he'd never driven this car. It's much easier to drive than the old Volkswagen bus. It's got to be like 15, 20 years old. So once you have that feeling, you know what it is. Now, when I visualize driving the car, I can recall that feeling and bring it back. The other thing I recommend you do when you go down there, take your camera, roll down the window, stick your head out, give the camera to the guy that's the dealer and say, take my picture. I'm going to be back to buy this car. And then take that picture and blow it up. Make it on your screensaver, put it on your refrigerator, stick it in your cubicle of work or on your dashboard of your car, whatever it is. You want to be constantly bringing that picture into your consciousness, constantly re-energizing that feeling. So it's going to be more accelerated, pulling it into your life. Okay? Now I want to do one last thing and then we'll take a little break here. I want to show you what happens when you have a conflicting image from a goal and it's unconscious. But I need about 4 people to come down here. So you can come, and gentleman at the end, lady right here, that's 2, and lady in the red hair, that'd be great. And if you would just stand right here, stand to the, just come on over a little more. Okay, perfect. Now, have you all seen a seagull, at least in a movie? You know what a seagull looks like when it flies? Okay? And what word could we use to characterize a seagull when it's flight? What would be some words? Graceful, elegant, what else? Carefree, free, smooth, effortless. Okay? Now, have you all seen a jackhammer? Guy with a jackhammer? What words could we use to characterize that movement?
Rough.
Rough, pounding, rigid, vigorous, staccato. Okay, good. So what I'm going to ask you to do, you guys are going to be my seagulls, and you're going to be my jackhammers, okay? So, here we go. What I want you to do is my jackhammer group, I want you to close your eyes right now, if you would. And I want you to imagine a picture of someone jackhammering out on the street. We've all seen it, at least in the movies. They're out there pounding the surface. They usually have a little bit of a beer belly. It's jiggling up and down right with it, right, you know? Okay? So you got that picture going? And what I want you to do in a moment, I want you to keep that image of the jackhammer going, and I want you to move like a jackhammer for about 10 seconds. I'll tell you when to stop. But you're going to move in a rapid, staccato, rigid movement, and keep holding that image of the jackhammer in your mind. Can you do that? Okay, good. So on the count of 3, I want you to move like a jackhammer. I'll tell you when to stop. 1, 2, 3, go. Okay, great. Stop. Perfect. You did great. Now, my seagulls, what I'm going to suggest to you, sir, is if you just step up a foot, because seagulls have big wingspans and you don't want to bump into the other seagull there. And I want you to close your eyes, if the 2 of you would, and I want you to imagine a seagull. You've got a seagull out there in the sky, it's floating, it's up on a thermal, it hardly has to move its wings just a little bit, and it's graceful and so forth. Keep holding that image of the seagull in your mind, and when I say go, just move, and I'll tell you when to stop, about 10 seconds, like a seagull. Think graceful and elegant. 1, 2, 3, go. Okay, very good. That's great. Good job. Now we're going to come back to my jackhammer group. Now it gets interesting. So assume your positions, jackhammers. And what I want you to do, I want you to keep the image of the jackhammer in your head. Okay? Pretend that if you stopped thinking and visualizing the jackhammer, you die. It's that important to not let go of the image. Okay? So keep that image in your mind. But what I'm going to ask you to do, in fact, close your eyes right now. Get the image of the jackhammer in your mind. But what I want you to do while you're holding on to that image, and don't let go for anything, I want you to move like a seagull. Ready? 1, 2, 3, go. Okay, stop. Good job. Excellent. You can open your eyes. Okay? You can see what's coming here. Okay.
It's going to be a choppy flight.
So, What I want you guys to do is hold the image of the seagull. Do not let go of that image. Your life depends on it. The life of your loved ones depend on it. And at the same time, move like a jackhammer. Are you ready? 1, 2, 3, go. Okay, stop. Good. Now, just very quickly, what was one word that would describe what you were experiencing while you were doing that?
Chaos.
Chaos. How about you?
Humility.
Humility. It's difficult, right? And what would you describe? Well, how were you feeling when you were doing that?
Unnatural.
Unnatural. What were you feeling?
Frustration.
Frustration. How many of you have ever felt frustration, felt difficult, challenged, all those kind of words that they said when you set out to do something and it feels like you're a jackhammer trying to be a seagull or a seagull trying to be a jackhammer? When you have not created the image of what it would look like when you get there and really put that fully into your mind, the old image of who you were or how you were succeeding is in the way of your behavior, and you end up looking like this instead of whatever it is you're trying to do. Does that make sense? Okay. Say it again, she said. You want to have the image of what you're moving toward, your goal, your vision, what you want to manifest in your mind clearly. That's why you close your eyes every day as a discipline and visualize what it would look like, how you'd feel, what you would hear. So that becomes the normal operating picture in your head. Now, it takes about 30 to 40 days of uninterrupted. Can't skip a day, and I'll talk about this after we take a break. But you want to have uninterrupted time frame of 30 to 40 days. And then what happens, your brain actually rewires itself, if we can use like an electrical metaphor. It actually creates new neural pathways in the brain. And so if you don't do that, you can use willpower. It's like, you're taking the ship's on automatic pilot going east. You take and you turn with willpower to go south. But as soon as I let go of that willpower, what happens? The automatic pilot goes back east again. And most of your life, you're on automatic pilot, and you have to reprogram the automatic pilot. Does that make sense? Okay, good. Exactly. All right, give these guys a hand. You were great. Thank you very much.